After Luke Skywalker helped his father to defeat Darth Sidious and return to the light side in Return of the Jedi, he traveled the galaxy to search for ancient Jedi temples and artifacts. During his travels, Luke Skywalker discovered a lot of information about the previous history of the Jedi Order, including some of their biggest enemies. I'm going to break down exactly what Luke Skywalker knew about Darth Maul, the arch-enemy of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Before we dive deep into it, hit that subscribe button to be notified when I release more Star Wars lore content. Only 31% of you who are watching are currently subscribed, so remember to hit the button if you do enjoy the video. So, as usual with this series, I'm going to read to you a page out of the journal of Luke Skywalker, which he wrote after he began his journey to discover every piece of knowledge possible about the Jedi Order of the Clone Wars era. Let me know if you want to see all of the other pages from Luke Skywalker's journal, because it has a lot of very interesting stories about lightsaber designs, Sith Lords, and even Jedi robes. The following page in Luke's journal is a note about Darth Maul's life, all the way from the duel of Naboo with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon to his eventual death on Tatooine in the duel with Kenobi. This note was written by Luke so that the students of his new Jedi Academy could study the enemies of the old Jedi Order and gain some knowledge on how to deal with opponents of his new order. So here's the page. The first apprentice of Darth Sidious, Darth Maul, was a Zabrak Night Brother from Dathomir who was trained in the ways of the Sith from a young age. Maul was fueled by a desire to exact revenge on the Jedi Order for destroying the Sith Order ages ago. After he was cut in half during a battle with Obi-Wan Kenobi, Maul was long thought dead, but he returned, driven by hatred and an unquenchable desire for revenge on the Jedi and Sith alike. Maul continued to spread chaos beyond the Clone Wars, leading the criminal organizations known as the Shadow Collective and Crimson Dawn. He would eventually face Obi-Wan again in another duel on Tatooine. However, this warrior of the dark side would not survive the encounter. So we find out right away that Luke knows about Maul's upbringing and how he was trained by Darth Sidious from a very young age. We already know from the Son of Dathomir comic that Maul was given to Palpatine by Mother Talzin as a baby, which further backs up the story from the Darth Plagueis book, which is unfortunately now legends. Luke also knows about the planet Dathomir and the clans of Night Brothers that live there, so it's definitely possible that he visited the planet in his mission to discover ancient Jedi temples. Luke fighting Night Brothers is definitely something I want to see in the comics or even the TV shows. Luke also knows about the fierce battle between Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon and Maul on Naboo, which resulted in Maul being cut into two pieces. It's awesome that Luke was filled in on the whole story of that fight, because as Dave Filoni recently mentioned, this fight determined the fate of the galaxy, and that's why it was called the Duel of the Fates. Luke also realizes that this fight is the first moment that put his father Anakin on the path to becoming Darth Vader. It's possible that Obi-Wan told him about the fight as a Force ghost, or maybe even Qui-Gon himself told Luke about the event, because we know that he was able to appear as just a voice. But let me know in the comments how you think Luke managed to discover all of this information about Darth Maul. Following this, Luke also realized that Maul's feud with Obi-Wan was a very long-lasting one that went all the way from his battle on Naboo through the Clone Wars up until the battle on Tatooine from Star Wars Rebels. It really must have been mind-blowing for Luke to learn that his master Obi-Wan fought his biggest rival only a short distance away from his house when he was a young boy. After that, he also discovered Maul's involvement in the criminal underworld, including the fact that he led the Shadow Collective and Crimson Dawn crime syndicates. The really interesting thing here is that Luke doesn't seem to know that Maul was the holder of the Darksaber and even led the planet Mandalore for a short period of time during the Clone Wars. Throughout his journal, the Darksaber is not mentioned at all, so it's very possible that Luke does not know about the weapon and its very deep history with the Mandalorians. Alongside the journal entry about Maul, Luke also placed a note which contains a very important quote from Yoda. The quote says, "Always two there are, no more, no less. A master and an apprentice." This quote isn't the most relevant to the students of his new Jedi Academy because the rule of two Sith were wiped out, but it is still important for him to teach his new Jedi Academy about how the Sith of the past worked. So that is everything Luke Skywalker knew about Darth Maul, all the way from the Phantom Menace throughout his time in the Clone Wars to his life as a criminal leader. Thanks so much for watching. Remember to subscribe for more. Cheers guys, hope to see you in the next one.